Stop kicking me. You're not biting me.
Supernanny sees a discipline problem.
This little boy was dictating a whole family and what they were going to do.
But I see something else. Aggression is doing something for these kids. And because this is the pattern that I see, it stops looking like naughty children who need more discipline and starts looking more like patterns of behavior. And behavioral science is all about patterns of behavior. But this is what Joe sees.
You got 2 seconds to get that seatbelt on. I'm throwing the sword in the garbage can.
No, you're gonna give it.
Get it.
And Lisa was like, that's it, out the car, we're not going.
And later, Lisa tries again.
Stop hitting me. Stop.
Don't bite me.
We'd only driven 2 blocks when Lisa had to stop the car to put Devon back in his seatbelt.
Just stay there because we're just going home.
And so Joe sees a discipline problem. But what do I actually see happening around that behavior? The car journey breaks down as conflict escalates. Mom changes her mind, and then the family heads back home. Supernanny sees a child influencing the whole family and a mom who's losing control. And yes, mom does change her mind, but Devon's behavior of escalating did not just come out of the blue. It was shaped over time in the first place. And that is where I would place my focus. And here's a key point. If I implement a strategy, I am going to stick with that strategy until it works. It does not mean I'm going to force the strategy through, but I'm going to take data and iterate according to that data until that strategy works. All that to say, mom has to stay in position for enough time until the strategy works. She has to be stable. So Supernanny reads this as a boundary that needs to hold. But I would ask why the boundary kept changing in the first place. And looking at this episode, the person whose behavior is influenced most by the aggression seems to be mom, Lisa. Watch what happens when she starts to struggle.
Sometimes I have to call John at work if they're acting up too bad where I cannot control them.
Lisa relies on John, and she uses John as a threat. This is the quickest way for Mum to undermine herself.
Joe sees Lisa starting to lose control. But what do we see from a behavioral perspective? Lisa can't get the boys to follow through with the naughty corner, so she calls John for backup. So she's using John as the person who makes consequences matter. And Supernanny sees mom as someone who's struggling to take control and someone who's using John as a threat. So Lisa's trying to get the kids to follow the rules using punishment, standing in the corner. Now, I have a lot to say about punishment, but that's a story for another video. But here, she transfers the role of putting that procedure into place from herself to John, even though John is at work. So Joe sees this as mom undermining herself, but I see this as the boys learning that mom's instructions are not the final point, but John's instructions are. And so I see the focus as not being mom needing to be firmer, but mom's words needing to reliably follow through with what happens next. So mom's instructions reliably leading to mom's follow through. And so Joe says mom needs to take charge. But I would ask, do your words reliably predict what happens next? Patterns of behavior. But John's side of the pattern is exactly why this discipline idea feels so convincing, that the kids just need more discipline. Just watch what's different when John gives his instructions.
Straight away, John started barking out those orders.
Put the sand down. Put it down. That's enough. I scare them by raising my voice. Then they do what they're told. I'm fine with that.
And so Joe sees this as intimidation. But what do I see from a behavioral lens? And here, John's voice changes the room quickly. The boys respond quicker. She sees that adult aggression is part of the family climate. And so John's raised voice now functions as the signal that non-compliance has bigger consequences behind it. And so the boys may comply quickly, but this method is all about pressure. Because the thing is, fast compliance is different from real progress. You see, a child doing what they're told in the moment does not mean that the family pattern has changed. So instead of paying attention to whether the child listens or not, I would pay attention to what the adult response is actually teaching the family to rely on next time. And so Joe challenges this exact point. So John's method looks like it's getting results, but what else is it adding to the family? And I totally see where Joe is coming from, because I have made that very same mistake as a young father. listen to what Joe focuses on.
There's an enormous amount of aggression that comes from the pair of you with how you discipline the children. It's like you're in battle with the boys. Fan the flames and it becomes worse.
So how does Joe's view compare to what I think? What does behavioral science actually say? Joe is no longer treating the child's aggression as separate from adult responses. She's paying attention to adult aggression, intimidation, and that confrontational approach. Because if I want to change my child's behavior, then I have to change my behavior first. And that observation, Joe's observation, strongly aligns with what behavioral science actually says. If adults respond to escalation with more escalation, then the family just gets locked into a pattern. So Joe names the battle, but I would ask, what keeps the adults joining that battle? And once Joe draws attention to this battle, what we saw earlier actually now makes more sense. Watch this again through that same lens.
Stop kicking me. You're not biting me.
Mum was restraining Devon in what seemed like a headlock.
This isn't just a child refusing instructions. You see, Mom and Devon are caught in the same escalation. Mom is trying to stop the behavior, but she gets pulled into that same fight. So the question isn't really whether the children can change. It's whether Mom and John can respond differently when that pressure begins to go up. Because according to this behavior pattern, changing their behavior is what is actually going to change their children's behavior. So Joe does what she normally does. She introduces some structure into the family. And yes, there is a naughty corner. Story for another day. But what we're really interested in is how the adults respond when that pressure goes up. Watch what happens in this clip.
The rules. Number 2, no hurting. If you make a decision to break those rules, there'll be consequences for that. And then he started kicking Mum. But Lisa had to do this on her own.
Can Mom follow through? And does following through actually change the pattern of behavior?
Devon kept fighting, but Mum stuck with it. Then at last, after 2 hours, Devon calmed down and he stayed in that corner.
Lisa has a backbone.
So here, Lisa stays with the consequence, and John does not become the consequence. Supernanny sees this as following through and actually says that Lisa has a backbone. Everyone sees the naughty corner working, but the deeper pattern is that the adult response is now following through when the pressure rises. And when consequences become predictable, behavior becomes predictable. So here, Devon's behavior is being shaped by punishment. But personally, I prefer to shape behavior using reinforcement. So Supernanny sees this as following through. I see this as the pattern of the adult's behavior actually changing. And that is important, not because that one magic fix sorts everything out. It's because that adult responses have now become predictable, they've become stable when that pressure goes up. So how does Supernanny's overall view compare with that of behavioral science?
Lisa relies on John.
I scare them by raising my voice.
It's like you're in battle with the boys.
How does that behavioral lens compare to the Supernanny lens? Time and time again, the family was being pulled into escalation, routines collapsed, and Lisa brought John in. And then John used intimidation, and Supernanny named this as a battle that involved intimidation and confrontation. So Supernanny sees this as a family that needs rules, that needs consistency, discipline, follow through. And so she tries to restore parental control, and this is through rules and consequences. And yes, that helps. I see structure and consistency as things that help most of the time. And earlier we saw the structure actually collapsing when Mom was being pulled out of position by joining the escalation. For structure to work, the pattern of behavior, the adult's response, has to be consistent. And that is what behavioral science shows, and that is what I see. Predictable consequences, predictable behavior. So Supernanny places her focus on structure. Behavioral science would also focus on what keeps moving the adults away from structure. Because once that cycle of escalation stops, another route becomes possible. Watch what Joe adds here.
So I wanted to show Lisa that there's a way in which she can calm the kids down without losing control. This is the chill out room. You may want to draw on this board until you've calmed down.
So Supernanny adds this calming space, but from a behavioral perspective, this calming space is actually interrupting that cycle of escalation. And so by the end, the house feels different. Not perfect, but different.
Lisa can now discipline the boys on her own.
They are showing me more respect.
The affection between them now changed phenomenally. The best outcome of this experience is to be able to see the boys all play together without beating the hell out of each other.
Supernanny saw aggression, disrespect, and a family that needed rules, consistency, and follow through. But behavioral science looks at the layer underneath that. It looks at the pattern of behavior. Because this wasn't just about naughty boys needing firmer adults. It was about recognizing the pattern of behavior that the family was being pulled into, and then changing that pattern so aggression no longer had the same power.